stay by herself. It was very difficult, very difficult. If you're asking me if I would do it again, yes, I would. I would take on the responsibility again.
What was the most rewarding experience of being her caregiver? We're having a conversation.
My name is Robin Madugno, and I cared for my mother, Sheila Oler. Ill in November of 2012, and she passed in May of 2013.
Some of my responsibilities are to prepare medicine, make her food, and do her laundry.
Do you have any assistance or help?
We mostly get assistance.
I was in my, how old was I? I guess I was 46 years old. Yeah, I had to go back. Okay.
Wait, the second one. Can you remember how old you were when you started caring for her?
I was 33 when she was diagnosed. Some of the things I do, for some of my responsibilities are to prepare medicine, make her food,
Assistance
and do her
or help?
We mostly get assistance from my mom's cousin and my dad.
There were no other caregivers. However, I had an older sister that lived locally who opted not to deal with the situation. She removed herself. The only thing she would do would be come and criticize everything that the doctors or the nurses had put in place. I would ask her to come stay with her mother while I would run to a doctor's appointment, and it would be a half an hour before I would have to leave, and unfortunately she wouldn't call, she just wouldn't show up. So that was a very stressful period when you thought you could go and actually do something.
My mom doesn't really have financial burdens because she lives with me and my dad, and she's covered by Medicare. The stressful thing about all of this is that I have to make time to take her to her doctor's appointments and still have a full-time job.
I was her sole caregiver. I bathed her, I fed her, I gave her her medicine, I scheduled her visiting nurses, I took over her financial responsibilities. I did her shopping, anything you could think of. I was very fortunate when it came to the financial end because my mother did have a pension, and she had excellent health care that afforded us the opportunities that most.
How do you handle the stress?
How do I handle the stress? I just rely on other people to help out with me.
We had someone that would come in a couple hours a day, which was a big help. So I could just basically remove myself from the situation for a couple hours just to regroup and get myself back together.
Or difficulties?
We had some struggles because my mother could be very demanding, and she had nighttime dementia. They call it sundown syndrome, where at night she would keep you up at night thinking she was in a different part of town. She was be screaming that take me to my daughter's house, and she was here. So those were very difficult things to face, that your mother didn't even know who you were. It was nice that you could just get a shower, you could do your hair, you could go get a haircut, you could go run a few errands, you could do things where you weren't on a time limit. You had enough time where you could.
The most rewarding experience of taking care of my mom is knowing that I can take care of her like she took care of me as a kid.
if you talked to her, she would open her eyes and she would look around, but I don't know if she knew where she was or what was going on. I had called the nurse, they were on their way, and she passed. It was difficult, it was just her and I in the room. The nurse came, pronounced her, and then the funeral director came, and I think that was the hardest part as they took her out. And then when I had to call my sister to tell her that our mother had passed, that was an experience in itself. My sister didn't answer the phone at first, and when I told her that Mom had passed, she hung up on me. So that certainly didn't add to a peaceful passing, shall we say. The most rewarding experience would have been that I got to make her last months of life as happy as they could be. She didn't want for anything, and anything that she asked for food-wise, even if she would only take a bite, she was able to have. So I think her last days were peaceful, very peaceful. When my mother passed away, she passed here in our home, and the nurse had been here. It was a Friday. It was pouring rain all day, all night, and the nurse had come, and she hadn't been here for a couple days, and I told her that my mother was not doing well at all, and she said that she thought my mother would come out of this, and she just had a little setback, and it was a very long night. She was almost like comatose, but she wasn't. If you went in and you said, "Mom,"